Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry, I forgot to switch my microphone on. My name is Sally Reynolds, and you're very welcome to our Emma webinar this afternoon. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is one in a series of webinars which we're running from the Emma project to help new providers who would like to put their MOOCs onto the Emma platform. So I'm delighted to see lots of people are joining us this afternoon. We will also have a recording of this webinar available afterwards if you would like to watch the recording. So maybe if you would just post into the chat where you are at the moment, so we can see what countries and where people are joining us this afternoon for the webinar. The chat is down at the bottom, as you can see, of the screen, and you're very welcome to use it also for questions and anything you'd like to raise today. So the session this afternoon is entitled Delivering a MOOC on Emma. So this will be all about the structure, the tools and the features that Emma offers. The webinar will take about an hour, and as for those of you who might be unfamiliar with Emma, this is a European Commission supported initiative which is primarily about putting in place a multilingual MOOC aggregator for Europe. So we've been fairly busy for the last 2 years, where we've another 6 months of the project to run, and we've lots of activities going on in the project. So great, we've got people joining us, I see, from Belgium here locally, from Italy, from Parma, from lots of places, from the UK. So thank you. It's lovely to have you with us this afternoon. Also with us, of course, this afternoon are our two speakers, the two people who will be leading the session, and they are both from University of Naples, Federico too, in Italy, who are the coordinating partner of the Emma project and our good friends and colleagues. So we have Ruth Kerr and also Marco Cerrone. You're both very welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so the way we're going to run this is that Ruth and Marco will essentially deliver the contents. We'll stop every so often for questions. I'll keep an eye on the chat, so if you have anything you'd like to raise with Ruth or Marco, I'll make sure that it gets their attention. But I'll hand over to you now, Ruth. I think you're going to kick off for this afternoon.
Okay, thank you. And as Sally said, welcome to the second in this series of webinars. In the first one, for those of you who were there, you'll remember that Dr. Jansen, the head of EADTU, and Rosanna De Rosa, the coordinator of the Emma project, introduced the MOOC scenario in Europe and how Emma as a transnational platform fits into that scenario. So Rosanna gave an overview of how Emma looks and works from a learner's point of view, from the front end. And so in our session this afternoon, as Sally said, the aim is to show you what Emma offers from the perspective of teachers and MOOC providers. And so we structured our webinar beginning with this set of questions, which we hope cover most of the issues, the things that you would want to know about when deciding which platform to use to deliver your MOOC. Quite a lot of questions, but there will be time for you to to field a few more too. So, Emma is a MOOC platform, and so we're going to show you the basic concept behind authoring a MOOC on Emma, the standard features, the services that we offer. But as Sally mentioned in her introduction, what we really want to do is to show you what differentiates Emma from other platforms. So we want to show you the translation services that enable you to deliver a multilingual MOOC, a MOOC in different languages, the toolbox and the course book that enables a learner to harvest, to take content from a variety of different MOOCs in their own language and then collect it, save it in their own course book, and so create their own learning journey. And then, of course, the European branding. And so we'd like to show you the reasons why Emma could be your platform of choice. as Sally again said, Emma is a 30-month European pilot action, and so one of the things that Emma offers is free hosting and free web services, at least for the lifetime of the project. So Emma's research-based, experimental in nature, and the development of the platform was agile, and so all of that means that it allows for different kinds of instructional design. In fact, on the platform recently we've had iMOOCs, where interaction is the way to learning. We've had masterclass MOOCs with live streaming and participants asking questions during the live streaming and then doing their own classroom lesson based on that. We've had a hybrid approach with the initial lessons in streaming and live chat, and we've even had MOOC in flipped classrooms in a blended approach. So lots of opportunities for experimentation with the pedagogy, and Emma also has an aggregator function, so we can showcase activity and best practice in the world of MOOCs in general. And the last one on my list there, we also have quite a range of support materials and services just in case things go pear-shaped. So what is the structure of a MOOC on Emma? Well, it's a kind of accordion, kind of hierarchical structure, where course is the top level, and then the lessons, and then the units, and then the assignments open out one after the other underneath that level. And then transversally, we've got the different pedagogical tools and the learning analytics, which covers the whole of that. Now, this document that we're just showing you a page of is what we've called the Emma syllabus, and it's a kind of paper version or a digital page that mirrors the design process for authoring a course on Emma. And so you, as new providers, would receive this, and it just helps to focus the authoring process and the different elements that need to be incorporated into that and thought through in advance. So, of course, the first thing to do is the course title and the dates, starting dates of each lesson, and the overview and learning outcomes. And then this is what the same thing looks like in real life on the Emma backend. So you've got the same course title and structure. And then if you just look to the right here, you can see that we've got the published dates, and then all you need to do is to add an image cover, some information about the teacher, and then we're ready to launch this overview on the home page of the Emma platform. After the course, then we get the lessons, again each one with the objectives, and then the units. And the units, the lessons serve to divide the content up into manageable units, obviously. The units are where the actual content is uploaded, is given. And so here we can have a variety of text or video or image or external resources or additional resources that the teacher has created, especially for the course. And the tags. The tags are used to find specific links in Europeana. And then these appear, as you can see underneath here, with a nice cover page detailing the material on Europeana. One of the guiding principles in the development of Emma was to use and reuse open education resources. And so the idea of the platform as a hub connecting to the wider world of learning on the web is also there. And so these kind of teaching tools that we're showing at the moment all reflect that kind of idea, concept. So, as I was saying, the actual the units is where the actual learning content is uploaded, and here you could find the text with images and videos, and then links to other materials, and as I said before, links to external resources too. Here we've taken a screenshot from our current and rather popular course on coding, and you can see, well, it's quite small, but I hope you can see that the teacher here has linked quite an interesting variety of external resources, including the group Facebook page that he created, a conference. So there's a recording of a presentation that was made on the same topic at a conference, the YouTube playlist of former lessons, so that people can catch up on the ones they missed. And then there's also even some games that can be downloaded and used directly in class. So, just to conclude this first part of the presentation, of our presentation, here's a kind of summary of the pedagogical tools that Emma offers. So we've got study materials of different kinds and in different formats. We've got the teacher blog, so the teacher can use a blog to give information about the course, or to ask for feedback about the course, to recommend something to watch, or indeed send out additional materials to study. And with the blog post, the participants on the course receive a notification that there's a post for them to go and check on, and they get the link in their email to go and read that. Then we've got the virtual classroom. So social media channels are very popular, actually, especially Facebook, creating a kind of community for the learners outside the space on Emma, and Twitter channels are also used. And then we have the conversation tool, which is a kind of open forum that is present at every level in the Emma hierarchy, authoring hierarchy that we talked about before. So you can find the conversation under the course level, lesson level, and indeed at every unit. And so obviously the conversation, like any forum, allows for interaction between the course participants and the teacher. So at this point, I'm going to stop for a moment and...
We have a couple of questions indeed, Ruth, so let's address them right now. First of all, SCORM, in terms of standardization. Marco, do you want to talk about that, or Ruth, do you want to talk about how, whether you're using standardized approaches here? Marco.
Yes,
we don't hear you.
At this moment we don't support SCORM as format. We are working to introduce a special module to be compatible with this format, but at this moment we don't support SCORM.
Okay, then the second question coming from Barbara. Hi Barbara, nice to see you with us. The Europeana link, it's not mandatory. I can answer that for you. It is just it is a suggestion that we make to MOOC providers when they're looking for external sources. But of course they can link to any resource, can't they, Ruth? It doesn't have to be on Europeana by any manner of means.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be, but there are automatic links to Europeana as well if you want to put them in that tag box.
Peer assessment and self-assessment, I'm going to suggest we leave you continue with your story, because I think you're going to be covering both of those when you do your presentation about what Emma offers.
Yes, that's right. It would be easier to come to that later when we've got the slides that give you a better insight into how it works as well.
And then there's a question also from the UK, from Ensokorovica, about particular reference points are used to inform the levels or learning objectives and learning outcomes. I suspect you mean, do we give any guidance to MOOC providers in terms of how they define the learning level? I'm not sure if we do that, Ruth, do we?
No, I don't think we do. I think we rely on the providers themselves to explain that quite clearly. Normally there are no prerequisites for the learning, but still
having good,
the
clear
objectives, we usually say
being able
who
to
the course
describe
is
them
aimed
well.
at, what
Okay,
kind
I think I'm the one causing the echo problem, so I will bow out and let you continue with the next
state
steps.
the objectives clearly in terms of levels.
Okay, thank you, Sally. Good morning, everyone. So after this overview about the MOOC structure on EMMA, let's see some of the main features of EMMA. We can start from the translation system. This slide shows how many languages we have. The translation system on EMMA can offer courses in 8 languages: Italian, French, Spanish, Catalan, Portuguese, Estonian, and Dutch. And English is our bridge language. So English is the vehicle for trilingual translation. So for instance, if you need to translate your original Spanish content, for instance, in Italian, the system translates Spanish to English and English to Italian. I don't want to be too technical, but if we consider some of the important measures of the quality of translation, EMMA is better than Google because we have, for example, BLU or VER, that are the important measures for translation quality. EMMA has an higher score about this quality translation. Of course, human editing is desirable and necessary, and this editing does take time, so you have to edit this translation or transcription during the MOOC preparation. The system, our translation system, improve anytime you edit a translation, so we have also an in-domain training system. Okay, this is the theory, but maybe you are asking how it works in the CMS. So the next slide show you the translation system at work. And as you can see, we have in the CMS 2 windows. On the left side, you can see your original content. Your original content could be a video or, of course, a text. And on the left side, on the right side, you have the transcription. Maybe I can do a zoom on this part. Okay. And you can see the original content here, and you can edit some paragraphs or just to confirm that the transcription on the translation is right. Then you can import the translation in the CMS if it is text, or download your transcription that you can import again in your video player. So for instance, you can use YouTube or Vimeo to upload your video, and on EMMA we can do this kind of transcription and translation. Next slide is about other main feature. So we have a feature that we call EMMA Toolbox. With the EMMA Toolbox, your students can take their personal note, and save some elements, for example, paragraph or other notes. And if I can zoom on this part, okay. So your students can activate this feature and they can highlight, or they can add a note, or they can associate an external link to several paragraphs, and all these elements, these notes, are collected in a page saved elements, where they can see and edit, delete these elements, and for each element they can add this note in their own personal course book. For instance, they can add and reorganize these elements in a specific personal course book, and they can create also a multidisciplinary course book, because they can put this in the same course book different elements from different courses. Your students has also personal blog, so it looks like as a standard blog post. They can put the post title, the content. The content could be text, video, links, images, and in general, each registered users on Emma has a personal blog where they can publish this content. But all Emma posts are visible on the, only to the registered users. Some users can select a course, so can associate this content to a specific course, and in this case the content is shown only to the enrolled users of this course. So you can use this personal blog in many ways, and Ruth will show us during this presentation how to use the personal blog for your courses. Then we have also the conversation tool. The conversation tool is the equivalent of comments that you can find in many social networks on blog. And the conversation tool is the conversation box is placed below each course page. So in course, lesson and unit page, you can find this box, and your students can interact with their colleagues or with the teacher. Each time that some user posts a comment here, the teacher receives a notification about this comment, and you can also reply for each single comment. And at the end of this presentation of main features of Emma, we have also the virtual classroom. The virtual classroom allows to teacher to highlight some external social media channel. In this case, we have YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, but we support several other social media channel, where the teacher can extend the student's experience outside Emma, but also he can use this virtual classroom to create an integration with Emma to the external social channel that many times are used from your student. This is our main features, and these features are connected with the assessment tool, and Ruth can give us more information about this.
Yeah, obviously, I think we're seeing already from you, Marco, that there's a lot of overlap really between interaction and assessment tools. I mean, interaction tools can double as assessment tools. So we've got 5 to choose from, but 2 you've already mentioned. So we'll begin with the conversation, and we can see here on the right that the author needs to choose the assignment type. I mean, that's a detail, but you would choose a standard if you wanted your students, your participants, to do their assignment in the conversation, and you would launch your assignment through the conversation, and so you get a public discussion going if that's what was what you most wanted for that particular assignment. And otherwise you've got the homework and the quiz, which we'll come to in a moment. You can also, of course, upload additional study materials with your homework or assignment task. So here you can see, as Marco already showed us, the conversation feature as it appears on the front end of Emma. This is quite a small homework task, but this is with teachers. And we're simply discussing the actual use of language that teachers, the language that teachers use in this kind of forum commenting activity. So here we've got whether joined the discussion is better than saying post a comment or write something. Then we've got the classic quizzes, and we got true, false, or multiple choice quizzes, and these are just to check key concepts that have been introduced in the units, and then you get automatic machine correction with or without feedback on incorrect answers. And these prove very popular with the learners. They seem to like this kind of quantitative sort of assessment feature, just giving some kind of indication of what they've remembered or learned. As a teacher, I find it much more difficult to avoid giving kind of silly distractors or the right length distractors on the multiple choice quizzes, but an interesting challenge nonetheless for us. And then blogs we already mentioned, so these can be used to set an assignment, and of course the learners can be asked to submit their assignment in the blog. And I think this is especially indicated if it's something like a video or a photo shoot. I remember on the social innovation course that we ran here at UNINA, the students were asked to go out and find something in the cultural heritage sector that they thought wasn't being particularly well managed, and do some kind of video report and interviews. And if you put that on the conversation on the Emma platform with hundreds, even thousands of users, it's really going to clog it up. So that's... Yes, sorry.
Just as you're no problem. Just as you're talking about blogs and blog posts, Patricia's asking a question about whether peers can comment on each other's blog posts. I presume they can, yes. But does the blogger then get information about these comments? Do they get notified about them?
No, the teacher gets notification that there's something waiting for them, and when the teacher posts and selects the course participants, then there's a notification for the learner that there's a post waiting to read. And
oh yes,
yeah. And of course, everybody can comment on the other blog posts. It's just like another conversation feature. You can go to the blogs, Emma blogs, at the top on the home page, and you can see the blogs that have been recently published, or you can filter them by course, which is probably what's intended here. So you can filter the blogs according to the course and see the responses, the comments that have been added to the blogs, and add further comments.
Okay, thanks very much.
We've got a couple more questions there, but maybe I should carry on and then we'll come to that later. Okay, so I'd had a look at blogs, and yes, of course, I think we can see here that you can reply, post a reply quite simply to the blogs. Okay, This is the homework feature, and so this comes under the assignment on the unit page. At the end of the unit, then there's a button, Go to Assignment, and this is what students, learners see, and this is also the format that's used in the back end for the teacher to actually set the assignment question. So this is kind of the discursive task, expressing an opinion, writing a report, and this, when the students submit it, this goes to the teacher, and the teacher in the teacher dashboard, which is accessible from Teacher Profile, can see all the submitted homeworks and where they've come from, and the idea is that the teacher on this kind of task gives individual feedback and then reposts to the student. And somebody was asking about this earlier on. We also have the peer assessment tool. Using the learning community to review each other's homework rather than the teacher doing all the reviewing, as I just explained with the assignment, is obviously the only scalable solution if we've got thousands of learners on any one course. However, at eMOOCs last year, a recent research project from Pierre Collet from the University of Strasbourg, he demonstrated that in terms of quantitative feedback, the average mark for 3 peers giving a mark for homework was more accurate than 1 professor's. So it has a value even academically. And on the current coding course that we're running on Emma, which has 4,000 active learners, we found that learners themselves are saying what a valuable activity they find it is to give feedback, written feedback on other participants' work. They said that it helped them to reflect on the strengths and weaknesses of their own work, and that it also helped to promote collaborative learning and kind of create a sense of community and sharing within the group. This slide I just put in to kind of say that setting up and managing the peer assessment seems to be a lot easier in practice than maybe we think it is. One idea is to set the criteria quite clearly, the criteria for the feedback with the class first, and then to form groups, depending how many learners you have overall, but then divide the students into groups, decide how many reviews they should do and how many reviews each person should receive, as it were, and then just do the mathematics. If we're worried that the system might break down because some people haven't done the reviews that they promised to do, the teacher can always pop in and check and then send a reminder to any group that's lagging behind. And of course the teacher can also read the peer reviews that have been given if they're interested in sorry, I'm reading a question now, but Sally, should I answer the question on the peer assessment already?
Indeed, maybe we should take a pause for a couple of questions because there's a few further back as well too.
Okay, sorry.
So
yeah,
no, don't worry. No, I was just letting you keep going because I felt that some of these points you were going to cover. But let's take a pause. So if you have other questions, please put them into the chat now, and let's deal with the earlier ones as well. So we had a question first of all from Alessandro about translation. We are intending it when talking about materials in the course. Yes, that's right. Students, as far as I know, up to now don't have any sort of menu to auto-translate, for example, forum posts, do they? I know there was some talk about trying to introduce this, but I don't think we have it yet. Do we, Ruth or Marco?
Well,
we are working to introduce this feature for real-time translation, so we could use this new feature to translate blog posts or for instance, the comments of each student. But at this moment we have, yes, the translation works only for study materials, so video and text for teacher in CMS.
Thanks, Marco. And then there was another question about from this person again from the UK in Sokorovica. How much information do students get on what is expected from them in each of the assignments, and how would they know how well they are doing? Any dialogue between student and teachers? I presume, Ruth, that just depends on how the MOOC is set up, does it?
It does. It does. That varies very much from MOOC to MOOC. Some people get round this issue by doing a boot camp lesson before the course starts. There's a kind of, they call it a boot camp in certain cases, an introductory lesson to how Emma works and kind of, close discussion on exactly what will be expected, how each learning activity will work and what will be expected from the learners. And then, of course, other people leave it to the homework box that I showed, and they explain there very clearly. And with the peer assessment as well, it's possible to set the parameters quite closely for what's expected in the review, the language to be used even. Depends very much on the individual.
Yeah, I think it is kind of left very much to the individual MOOC provider, but we are still a community of best practice, so I think there is a certain amount of sharing that goes on between the different MOOC providers now and trying to figure out how best to deliver and what works in terms of the information you give. Question also from Alessandra about, is it possible to post a group homework for peer assessment, so to ask a group of participants to do homework? Is that possible, Ruth?
Yes, in theory it is. It requires doing the maths a little bit more carefully, and you could only do the division successfully, I think, once you've got the homework in. I always find myself that it's better to set the groups to do the homework first and then to do the review. So they could do the homework in groups, and then you could set up the peer review still in groups rather than through individuals. Yeah?
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, Natalia. Thank you for giving us your name indeed. And I'm sorry, I think I'm the echoer, so I'll switch myself off again and leave you to continue.
Okay, maybe I should have just done this slide before we broke off the questions, but anyway, this is a summary table. As I said before, I think there's a lot of overlap between these different assessment tools, and so this table is designed to show the similarities and differences between them. I think the main variable here is the privacy. So obviously conversation and blog are always going to be public, whereas the homework you can keep private or simply share with some members of the group through the peer assessment. And obviously qualitative feedback is not possible with the quizzes. And the other variable, the important variable, as I mentioned before, is the length of the answer. So if we want digital artifacts, then it doesn't really make sense to use anything other than the blog. Okay, this brings me now then to the dashboards, the learning analytics and how these are visualized. So here we've got a view of some of the new, more recent developed teacher dashboards, and here I have to tell you that the underlying tracking system on Emma really produces far more information about learner behavior in the course and on the platform than you can possibly visualize in the dashboards for the moment. The work is ongoing, it's constantly evolving. And this could be an interesting aspect to it for your own MOOC research and development, as you get access to all the data and it can be used as a lesson learnt to improve future editions of the same courses that we run, or even to provide policy indicators for MOOCs for our institutions. The current visualizations are those that were chosen, decided that they were significant by the partner MOOC providers on Emma. And as you can see here, we've got the number of interactions and the average time that was spent on the platform, and you can see page views, or you can see lesson views. You can see which of your resources, either a lesson or one of the additional resources that you linked to, was the most popular. And of course, in terms of participants, you can see their progress in the course as a percentage and how they're doing. And then you can also see an activity stream, which is really helpful in just seeing whether the learners are managing to keep up to speed with the kind of calendar of publication of new materials and tasks and activities that you set, or whether people are lagging behind and are still on the first piece of material. We also have student dashboards, and again, the students for the moment can visualize their progress, percentage progress of the course and lessons, and they also have an activity stream reminding them of where they've been on the platform. Marco, I'm going to hand over to you again.
Yes, in a test. Okay. In addition to the learning analytics tool, we have also different ways to profiling users and to use some surveys designed by Ipsos. And the first one is the registration form with some social demographic variable, and then we have three kinds of surveys. We have the expectation survey questionnaire. This questionnaire is linked to this red top bar on the home page and in each page of Emma when you are logged in. And it is not compulsory, but it must be completed one time. And this questionnaire gives us more information about the past experience of participants, but also for, of course, for expectation. We have a second questionnaire we call mini questionnaire, because teacher can put this survey inside his course. A teacher can associate this mini questionnaire in a specific unit, and in this case questions are created by Ipsos, but negotiated with the teacher, of course. And in this case the mini questionnaire is one for each course. And then we have the last questionnaire, the exit questionnaire, that is shown in all units of your last lesson, and also in this case must be completed only one time for the experience of the registered users, and also in this case the questionnaire is not compulsory.
Okay, I think, Marco, at this point that we've really shown most of the details of each stage in the sort of process of MOOC creation and delivery. So if we just have a look at this slide for a moment. So this is the workflow for you as new providers. And of course this starts with you submitting a proposal for a MOOC to the Emma committee. And they review it, and then apart from getting to know the Emma platform from the front end as a user, After acceptance, you get account credentials and the contract, of course. And then you can start creating your course on the demo platform, on the Mirror platform that Marco talked about. We designed this to show how important the planning is in the whole thing. Scheduling time for editing the transcription, scheduling the time for editing the translations, organizing the online tutoring and coaching, who's going to do it and how, preparing the Facebook posts or Twitter feeds in advance to engage students and to announce even upcoming topics in your course. And as I mentioned earlier, it's also important to publish the course cover and the trailer video, have that ready in good time so that we've got a longer period for enrollments, and so as research shows, you're more likely to get a better take-up on the course. With the coding course that I've mentioned before this afternoon, we've found that precision, timing and organization is working really well. Professor Bogliolo, for example, said that lesson 3 will be published at midnight on the 3rd of February, and submission of the peer review for assignment number 3 on 5th of February. And we're finding that approach is working. It seems to be working very well in keeping the students motivated and up to speed. So just lots of different things, lots of different balls to keep in the air, lots of things to time precisely to make sure that you have time to just test and improve and everything your MOOC, and then run it on time. Which I think brings us to the last slide for the moment. As we said at the beginning, Emma does offer a range of documents and tools to get you started as a MOOC provider on Emma, and also to offer continued support.
Yes, we have, for instance, demo platform that is a mirror version of the Emma platform, where a new provider can use all Emma features and test the CMS, create their courses and do more practice. So, in other words, you can do learning by doing on Emma, but on a mirror platform.
And the syllabus we already met earlier in my presentation. Yeah, the syllabus we already met earlier in the presentation. It's to help you with the detailed planning of all aspects of the course to get variety into the mix, to make the course more engaging and to plan in time.
And we have also an Emma simplified guide. So this guide appears like an infographic guide where you have 9 slides that show you the main teacher tools, the right process to create a lesson, unit or assignment, how to use the blog, and you receive several tips to engage your students.
And then the help desk. This is like a mail service, so you send in mail in a question and you get a response. It's not immediate, but our response time is very good, and I think we have quite a lot of helpful responses ready because we've collected a lot of information during the first year of the trialling with the consortium providers and the difficulties and questions that they had. So.
Yes, and we have also a Emma tutorial that is a MOOC where you can you can test in new provider, but also students can explore by using the platform, by navigating the platform, how Emma works and what are the main features, in particular for students side. The same, the similar is for the next point, Ruth.
Yeah, so again, a MOOC divided into different areas, but this takes teachers or MOOC authors through every step in the process. It's a mix of video tutorials, screenshots, and text explanation, and taking you from best practices in MOOC design right the way through to how to upload your subtitles onto the videos once you've translated them.
Yes, and we have, of course, a complete user manual of Emma, where you can find in about 60 pages all detailed information and screenshot of all features of Emma, and you can learn how to manage a MOOC on Emma.
And then, of course, we have these webinars. These webinars are all recorded and are available on the Emma website. So when we finish the whole series, it should provide, again, a sort of fairly hefty tutorial on all aspects of MOOC creation and delivery on Emma.
Thanks, Ruth. So you can see we are trying our best to make this material available and to make it as accessible as we can. There have been several questions that we didn't get a chance to cover in the last part, so I'm just going to go back to them. Bear with me for a second. I think the first one that hasn't been answered yet was Patricia had a specific question about the quizzes, whether they can pop up immediately after the knowledge clip. Can they be included in the knowledge clips? So do we have the possibility of embedding quizzes into video clips? Who wants to take that? No, I think is the answer, if I'm not mistaken. Marco?
No, at this moment, no. No, we can embed the quiz only at this moment in a unit page, not in a video.
Okay, but it would be something we would like to do, I know, because it does pop up in other contexts as well. Then Barbara was asking us about social network analysis, SNA. Do we offer that functionality to teachers to enable them to analyze what's happening in the social networks surrounding the courses, surrounding the MOOCs? Again, I think the answer is no. Marco?
No. Yes, at this moment the social network analysis is a graph that you can see in the Learning Analytics dashboard, and you can see all, at this moment, only nodes and arcs that connect these nodes, and the arcs means that some users has commented or viewed a page like his colleagues.
Okay, sorry, I apologize. So there is some social network analysis going on. Okay, Barbara, I hope that clarifies it. Sorry, go on, Ruth.
No, just blogs are also part of the learning analytics. Of course, that's not social network, that's within the Emma platform, but activity on the blogs is starting to be analysed, the frequency, the type of blogs that are generated. So.
Okay, Natalia also asks, just about to ask, other opportunities for students to give feedback on their MOOCs. So my question is, sorry, trying to read the questions and then they move. So my question would be on what happens to the feedback, what happens next? I presume that's just the general feedback, which is open. All students are encouraged to give feedback to the MOOC provider, no? Am I missing something?
I mean, we've said that as a project we have inbuilt cycles of improvement, and certainly each provider and the consortium providers as a group produce lessons learnt documents, fairly detailed lessons learnt documents, which feed in to modifications, adaptations of the next iteration of the same MOOC, and indeed into MOOC design for the future.
Mm. Henrik, you asked a question about whether all courses are, all the MOOCs provided are sessions-based or we have on-demand. At the moment we have 2 on-demand MOOCs which are currently available, one from Open University in Catalonia, and the second I think is from, I think that's also connected with Open Education Catalonia, if I'm mistaken. Ruth?
Yeah.
Well, we have 2 anyway, so we do have the possibility of offering that, Henrik, yes. So that is one possibility. And there was then a further question which came after that, which was from how much time, this is a really difficult question, how much time is on average is required in terms of commitment? A lot more than you expect, I think, is the message. But Ruth, do you want to say something about that? Because you're working with a lot of book providers now.
Yes, I mean, that's always a very difficult question to answer. I mean, the only thing I can say is that it's an awful lot less than it would take if you had to translate or transcribe from scratch. We're talking about at most a third of the time that it would normally take, and that's to produce a very good and well edited, well corrected translation. You can do a quicker job and say that's good enough.
I think it
because we know it's an
automatic
automatic translation. And sorry, Sally.
Yeah. No, go on.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ruth, we crossed over each other. No, I was just going to say I think it also depends how many people you have involved on your side as well, Natalia, whether you have a big team that can get committed and have time to be able to check. Checking the translations is quite time consuming, though. I think that's the point that Ruth is making. Then just to see, I think we're just coming to an end, so I just wanted to make sure we've covered. I see, Matty, thank you. You've replied to Patricia's question about the uploading of the subtitles. Alessandra's asking about accessing to demo, to try it out, to give a try. Well, we do have a process. If you want to submit a MOOC for inclusion on the Emma platform, then you'll find the information on the website about how to do that. Process is relatively streamlined now, and you just make a submission, and once it goes through then our own internal processes, then you're welcome to have a go at trying it yourself. Is there something we should say about that, Ruth?
No, I think that's right. We don't give account credentials until we've received a proposal and made contact with the provider.
But Alessandra, I would certainly encourage you to have a look at all the materials that are available, the online demos, etc., because I think that gives you a very good feel for how it actually works. Marik is asking about, as I've joined late, interest in creating, is there financial support within Emma to produce the MOOC? No, sorry. We can't offer financial support to do that. This is not a project which has another funding behind it. So the services of the Emma platform are available to MOOC providers who go through our process, but we don't offer financial support to help them. Okay, I think that was all the questions. How long is the project running, Barbara? Indeed. The project finishes, the European funding goes on until the end of July this summer, and at the moment we're working on our exploitation plans in terms of how we can make sure that the Emma platform continues and is available for people to use. We are really committed to this idea of multilingual and multicultural MOOC provision across Europe, so I think you find the partnership really wants to make sure we have something that continues after the end of the funding. Any other questions before I draw us to an end? Thank you very much for a really active session. Thanks for all the questions. I hope we managed to get you through everything that you asked. This is a question being put up by Ruth. Ruth, would you want to explain this?
This was just a poll. We were just interested to see whether today's webinar and giving you a tour around the tools and the authoring process on Emma has encouraged you in any way to think of using Emma as your MOOC platform. So 5 is that you were very encouraged to do so, and 1 is that we prefer edX, so not at all encouraged. And so it would be very nice of you if you would cast your vote before you sign out of the webinar. And thank you very much for coming. It's nice to have such an active audience. Thank you. Thank you for your questions. And of course, don't hesitate to get in touch with us at a later date if other things come to mind that we didn't manage to answer.
That's it from me as well. We will have our next, this is one in a series of webinars. I don't know whether we can put up, Alberto, the other slideshow to show, oh, this is the results, okay. 18 people voted out of 30, thank you very much. Okay, we have good, lots of encouraging 5, 6, 6s there in terms of encouraging. Some people in the middle and one person who prefers edX. Thank you for collaborating and for joining us today. And we're just looking at putting up the other slides. There is a new MOOC round coming up. We've already started the highly successful coding one, as you know. 4,500 people have enrolled in it so far. And we have another batch of MOOCs which will start up at the end of February. So stay tuned to the Emma platform to see what's actually happening. You can connect with us, of course. Please like us on Facebook, retweet, YouTube, you know what you need to be doing, and if you have any comments or questions, that is our email address there. So we look forward to seeing you again, and we'll be posting out to everybody here as well the if you've registered with us, the recording of the MOOC and also when the next one of the webinar, when the next one will be taking place. Thanks very much, Marco and Ruth. Bye-bye, and thank you to everyone who joined us. Thanks.
Thank you,
Alberto,
Sally.
also for the help.
Thank you for
bye-bye now.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.